Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. We begin in Trail, where the RCMP says 3 men who work for the Kootenay Boundary Regional Fire Rescue have been charged with assaulting a homeless man. The RCMP says the 3 firefighters allegedly attacked a man experiencing homelessness last April. Mounties say the men knew the victim and the incident likely stemmed from another altercation. Police say the 49-year-old victim has recovered and is still living out of his vehicle. Gregory Farabee, Richard Morris, and Wesley Parsons are each charged with 1 count of assault. CBC News has reached out to the fire department for comment. A first-degree murder trial is now winding down in BC Supreme Court as closing arguments were set to begin Thursday. Ibrahim Ali is accused of killing a 13-year-old girl whose body was found in a Burnaby Park 6 years ago. The jury heard from dozens of Crown witnesses during the course of the almost 9-month-long trial. Prosecutors claim Ali sexually assaulted and strangled the girl. Last week, Ali's defense lawyer told the jury he wouldn't be calling any evidence, arguing the Crown failed to prove its case. Once closing arguments are finished, the judge will give his final instructions to the jury before it begins its deliberations. A shoring collapse sent construction workers scrambling and left a gaping hole in the retaining wall at a Coquitlam construction site on Wednesday. Take a look.
Holy Here she goes! Holy
It happened on Wednesday at a tower project near Burquitlam SkyTrain station at the corner of Foster Avenue and North Road. Amacon Construction says a section of the shoring retention wall collapsed. Soil, as you saw, then poured into the excavated site. The collapse was drawing a crowd today who were also concerned about the potential impact.
I'm in a related industry, the construction industry, and this is not supposed to happen no matter how strong it rains. So my first reaction is somebody possibly miscalculated the loads, or the contractor did not do what they're supposed to.
But are you concerned? Like, are there any safety concerns in your mind right now?
Definitely. I'm concerned about, the safety of the adjacent buildings and also the foundation of the road. Because it's a pretty heavy road. You see the condos around, and so a lot of people walk through that hole and drive through that road. So this is not good.
Amacon says nobody was hurt. Foster Avenue is now closed while work on remediation continues. Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops is mourning the loss of one of their students killed in a multi-car crash on Wednesday. Police say a large black pickup truck hit some small trees beside a road near campus, then veered into the back of a Volkswagen, stopped at a red light. 2 other students were seriously hurt. TRU confirms all 3 of them were members of its Wolfpack men's volleyball team.
It's devastating news. Something that you can never really be prepared for, and but seeing a lot of emotion, throughout all of the Wolfpack community, even though they're not on the same team, there's a real, deep sense of connection and a lot of relationships that have been impacted significantly.
Counseling is being offered to TRU students and staff. Police are still trying to figure out what caused the crash. The new administrator of the Surrey Police Board held his first meeting today. Former Abbotsford Police Chief Mike Cyr was given the job 2 weeks ago. That's after the provincial government suspended the previous board earlier this month. It was chaired by Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke, who had campaigned against the transition from the RCMP to a city force. Mike Cyr says he recognizes he's in a tough position.
I've worked in municipal policing all of my life, and I recognize and deeply value civilian oversight. I am taking on this role with the utmost respect for the board and with the understanding that this is an unprecedented circumstance.
Cyr is assuming all the functions of the board while the city has taken its battle against the transition to BC Supreme Court. As we know, Metro Vancouver is not one city, but a group of 21 different municipalities. Most of the time, Surrey and Vancouver, who are the largest, have been on the same page on big regional priorities. But as Justin McElroy explains, in the last year, that has changed.
What happens when the 2 most powerful mayors in Metro Vancouver don't see eye to eye? For more than a decade in regional politics, there's been one constant, a strong relationship between the mayors of Vancouver and Surrey. Here is former Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson and former Surrey Mayor Diane Watts. Here is Robertson and Watts' successor, Linda Hepner. And here are the last 2 mayors, Kennedy Stewart and Doug McCallum. But why isn't there a picture of Ken Sim and Brenda Locke looking at one another like this?
It's a dramatic change to what we had before with Mayor Stewart and Mayor McCallum at the time. So it is a new era.
Here's the tea, because sometimes mayors tell me stuff. Sim and Locke don't see eye to eye on many issues. Locke, in particular, doesn't really care for Sim. A big reason is how they deal with the provincial government. Sim is playing nice with them, while Locke is taking legal action over policing. And when the province told Surrey they couldn't stay with the RCMP, Sim immediately put forward a statement saying it's time to move forward, which Locke was, allegedly, not pleased about. Now you may be asking, why does this gossip matter? Well, when it comes to getting your way at Metro Vancouver and TransLink, it helps to think of things as a board game, because each municipality has a certain number of votes, from mighty Vancouver with 34 to little Belcarra with 1. So how do you win? Well, if you're Vancouver or Surrey, the answer is simple. You team up, pledging to support each other on key issues, and all you need is just a couple other municipalities to get over the top. But the alliance between Vancouver and Surrey has collapsed. Now, Vancouver works with whichever municipalities want to work with them, while Surrey has pursued an informal alliance with Langley Township, based on both geographical considerations and the fact both mayors are willing to criticize the province more heavily than other mayors tend to.
We have a common set of issues. So we're facing issues around developing brand new areas with the kind of missing middle housing from scratch. And Surrey and Langley are unique in that way. And so I think that's what you're seeing unify us.
And that's turned Metro Vancouver from a bipolar alliance into a multipolar landscape, where middle powers can have more influence than they used to.
Smart local government leaders who've been around either Metro for a while or have cut their teeth in federal and provincial politics can see the opportunities opening up when there's less of a kind of behind the scenes consensus by the big players, and so they're gonna take every chance they can to advocate for their regions and to insert themselves into that decision making process.
But this isn't just theoretical political science talk. It's happening right now.
It allows us to even have a voice at the table, which previously we didn't with the previous, mayors and sort of their self-focus of what they really wanted to do and with their own agendas and not really thinking regionally at all.
That can be the benefit. The potential downside if things don't work is shifting alliances, a lack of certainty, or an inability to get things done. Whatever the case may be, it is a new era, the rise of the middle powers, and don't expect the major powers to have a picture like this anytime soon. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
The federal government came to town today to take the wrap off a key part of its economic plan to build more homes faster. That's exactly what the BC government wants to do as well. Our housing minister says the fall session of the legislature has delivered transformative action on the housing crisis. But as Belpuri reports, the opposition says the NDP has simply rushed through new laws.
This is really nice. Really nice. Beautiful.
Only the finishing touches are left. Vancouver's newest rental homes for vulnerable people and low-income families will be ready for tenants in May.
Some of these beautiful homes are going to rent for $500 a month.
58 West Hastings was made possible in part by nearly $46 million in federal funding for 231 units.
This is exactly the type of housing we need more of in Vancouver and across Canada.
To that end, BC's government says in the past 2 months it has passed some of the most significant housing legislation in the province's history.
All centered around a more progressive way of building housing in our communities.
In a bid to highlight the fall session, the NDP says its new housing bills are designed to deliver more homes within reach for people and families. Critics say there was no time to scrutinize the bills.
The government used closure to ram them through without having proper debate and discussion. That, frankly, is a travesty, and it does not serve British Columbians well.
Passage of Bill 44 came to the forefront when debate was limited. As of next July, it allows developers to build 3 to 6 units on lots currently zoned for single-family homes. Similar initiatives are said to have failed in California and other places.
Same with Portland, Oregon. Same with Auckland, New Zealand. The only thing they saw in Auckland, New Zealand was a rise in property values, which is part of the unintended consequences this government hasn't thought about.
The NDP promises 130,000 new homes in the next 10 years.
We spent 61 hours in this session debating housing. This is what people sent us to do here. They sent us to take action, and that's what we're doing.
Looking ahead to the spring, the government is looking at programs to leverage public and low-cost land, faster development, and low-interest construction. Housing will clearly remain a challenge. Belle Puri, CBC News, Vancouver.
They are meant to be full of love and cheer and good fun. But the holidays are not a happy time for a lot of people, especially those who have lost loved ones. A Vancouver Hospice is opening its doors to help people who are grieving. As John Hernandez shows us, the demand for holiday bereavement help has grown. And a warning for you, this story does contain mentions of suicide.
The winter months can make Abhishek Nanjandapa feel somber.
Tough times starts as soon as the clock changes.
A time where he reflects on the death of his father, who took his own life nearly 3 years ago.
I basically isolated myself for 2 years.
Nanjandapa said he struggled, losing motivation to finish his school before realizing he needed help.
I have my own mental health issues. I've struggled with suicide thoughts myself. I know how it impacted my dad's passing away on my family. I decided I can't do the same.
He says last year a school counselor recommended he attend an event called Coping Through the Holidays. The event, organized by Vancouver Hospice Society, offers free bereavement service to people who have recently lost loved ones.
It tends to be a time of year where we're focused deeply on our families and gatherings with our loved ones. And of course, if you've experienced either a recent death or a death that's very significant, that will stir up so many memories.
Counselor Kayla Hochfelder says the goal is to help people realize that it's okay to grieve.
This opportunity just really normalizes all of those feelings, recognizes how we can come together, whether that as a community or as a family, and include those that are grieving.
Last year, 50 people accessed the service, including Nanjandapa.
Yes, I'm more comfortable. I'm much more open to not avoiding my feelings.
He plans to attend again as the hospice hosts the event for a second time on Thursday. Organizers are expecting double the number of attendees.
The evening gives you a chance to meet other people and to just express how you feel.
Participants learn different coping tools.
A lot of it is around pre-planning with your family or with friends and recognizing that you might need your own space, you might need to kind of have things on a different timeline.
Main thing I have learned is forgiving for things that has been done in the past, whether by me or someone else.
For Nanjandapa, he hopes he'll come back again next year, but as a volunteer, so he can help others get through a hard time. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
A new 3-digit suicide prevention helpline has now launched across the country. Meanwhile, people experiencing a mental health crisis can call or text 988 and receive a free 24/7 response from a network of agencies led by the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health. The CBC's Tashana Reid shows us how it works.
It's Canada's new 3-digit number.
988, a new number Ottawa says will be a lifeline for Canadians.
Canada's new 3-digit number for suicide prevention is up and running. Thank you.
Similar to 911, 988 connects people in crisis by text or phone to a live trained responder closest to them, available in English and French 24/7. Immediate support for people who are thinking about suicide or those worried about someone else. The operator will assess the individual's safety risk and take appropriate steps.
We all know that 988 will help save lives.
Each day in Canada, approximately 12 people die by suicide.
Materials that are going on to
Canada's largest mental health hospital is running the helpline.
We agree time is of essence, and that 3-digit number is going to make it much easier to get through.
The new crisis line brings together 39 local, provincial, territorial, and national partners, including Kids Help Phone, under one number.
People want to feel that they're getting support close to home, and they want to know that suicide prevention is there for them and those they love.
You should do XYZ.
This nonprofit west of Toronto is one of the many community partners to join the 988 network.
Listen to their story, assess any risks that they might be feeling.
Leading up to the launch, they've been training and hiring additional staff.
How do we make it so that they've left this interaction with, okay, I have some hope.
And one phone call can make a difference. In 2007, Tanya Joy attempted suicide. 12 years later, she lost her brother to it.
It just takes that hello or questions like, what matters to you, or what do you need today, to feel like, oh, I am worth it.
The team behind 988 will be monitoring demand and wait times and report directly to the Public Health Agency of Canada. Now they say the job is to raise awareness so Canadians know anytime, anywhere, help is just a phone call away. Tashana Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
BC's toxic drug crisis continues to kill more people. The latest numbers show 189 people were killed from illicit toxic drugs in October. The BC Coroner Service says that equals more than 6 people every day. More than 2,000 people have died from poison drugs in the first 10 months of this year. Darius Madavi has our first look at the weather. Some slick streets out there. What's going on?
Yep, we do have this precipitation that's going to continue to stream into parts of the south coast for the next few hours. Then it starts to ease off, at least here in Vancouver, for a few hours overnight. But by tomorrow morning, we see that next system start to move in. So here you can see plenty of snow falling because the freezing levels are still quite low. We had that ridge of high pressure that was keeping us cool, but dry start to move out. Low pressure moves in, which makes us wet and usually makes us warmer. We've got a few transition days where we're still going to be quite chilly. So expect to see snow at lower elevations than we usually would this time of year, at least until we get a little bit later into the weekend when we start to warm up a little bit, including our overnight lows. So freezing levels should rise, but for now, plenty of snow coming along with that rain across parts of the south coast. Now, that system going to continue to move south, but we have another one, as I said, rolling in, so expect to see still plenty more precipitation in many places. We can see that snow starting to break into the interior. It hasn't really yet, according to that radar map we were looking at, but it should start too soon. And so this is the next 24 hours. If we roll forward to the next 24 hours, so we're now 48 hours later, you can see plenty of precipitation still coming into the province. But we get a little bit of a break on Saturday until the next system, which should be a little bit stronger, expected to hit places like Nanaimo particularly hard, rolls in on Sunday. Now, I mentioned Nanaimo specifically. That could change too because we are quite a ways out from that now, but that's what we were expecting right now. Parts of the east coast of the island could get considerable rainfall for that part of the province, more so than you usually get. But here in Vancouver, expect again we get that easing off into overnight. And then when the rain returns in the morning, it should ease off again around noon tomorrow.
Okay, thanks very much, Darius.
Thanks, Dan.
At Woodgrove Mall in Nanaimo, local businesses are coming together to raise money for a local food bank. As Claire Palmer shows us, the push comes as more and more people ask for help.
Family is the theme at the Festival of Trees. 10 local businesses coming together to give back.
The importance here, again, is to show everyone that we're here as a family to support the community and to promote that you don't have to do this alone.
It's really a great fun activity for a lot of folks to come together and put up Christmas trees. Who doesn't enjoy doing that?
Each tree has been sponsored and decorated by a local business or organization with accompanying gifts. Trees are being auctioned on the Nanaimo Clippers website. Every dollar goes back to the food bank.
When we approached our local businesses and told them what we're doing, they were fully on board. They donated. There was a lot of people that donated a lot of gifts to support this initiative right now. There was no for an answer. It was like, how can I do this?
At Loaves and Fishes, everyone is busy in anticipation of their busiest Christmas yet, serving over 7,000 people expecting a Christmas hamper.
The community donations go towards keeping the lights on and keeping the food flowing in this place. We expect a lot of need this Christmas, and we need help keeping up.
For every dollar raised, Loaves and Fishes can turn that into over $5 of food. That supply is much needed, as across BC, visits to food banks are up, according to BC Food Banks. Loaves and Fishes says visits are up 41%.
It's hard to see. It's a sad situation, but the one benefit that comes from the amount of community support we're receiving is that we've been able to keep our everyone welcome policy.
The trees are on display at Woodgrove Mall. The auction is being held on the Nanaimo Clippers website until December 8th. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Nanaimo.
Coming up, we're going to take a look back at why food banks opened in the first place and speak with someone who's been serving those in need since those very early days. Stick around. Hello to everyone watching our commercial-free live stream. Thanks for being here. For more than a year now, investors in a failed cryptocurrency scheme have been trying to get their $40 million back. As Angelina King tells us, the self-proclaimed king of crypto, Aiden Platursky, is now undergoing bankruptcy proceedings.
The self-proclaimed crypto king Aiden Platursky traveled to LA last month, cruising in a McLaren and a Lamborghini, enjoying a meal at a steakhouse, partying for Halloween, and posting it all online. Just before that, he was in the UK, sightseeing and attending a YouTuber's boxing match. And this month, it was Miami, where Platursky live-streamed much of what he was up to, including this interaction with a waitress at a driving range.
I'll just pay everything in cash at the end. Is that okay?
Live streaming while building Lego in Miami, Platursky talks about his plans to travel to Australia this weekend.
So that's going to be a vibe.
And says this to a woman watching the stream.
Can you come to Melbourne for one night? I'll fly you out. I'll fly you out to Melbourne from Sydney for one night.
All this amid a bankruptcy proceeding that's been ongoing for more than a year now. Documents from that show people gave Platursky more than $40 million to invest in cryptocurrency and foreign exchange. The documents also say he invested less than 2% of it, while spending nearly $16 million on himself, renting private jets, leasing a mansion, and adding luxury cars to his collection. Now his recent spending is raising questions.
He has funds that it would seem he has not reported to the trustee.
Lawyer Norman Groot is working on 2 civil cases involving people connected to Platursky and wonders why the bankruptcy trustee hasn't tried to get Platursky's passport seized.
It would seem that Mr. Platursky is not deterred by anything that has gone on litigation-wise in the bankruptcy to continue on his reckless type of spending.
The accounting firm overseeing the proceeding says there's no way for a trustee to seize a passport, but they can make recommendations to the court to do so. A different trustee who's not involved in this case told us because bankruptcy proceedings are funded by the money that's recovered, there's a consideration made when it comes to what types of actions are considered worthwhile.
Again, it's a judgment call, and that's usually made between the trustee and the creditors involved as to, how far they want us to go.
Platursky's lawyer didn't respond to questions about how Platursky is affording the recent travel and lifestyle while supposedly bankrupt. In streaming videos, he does provide some answers.
I don't travel a crazy amount. You guys think I do, but literally it's for content. Internet money gang, internet money, unemployed with income. That's what I told the bank. Right? Because technically that's what a streamer is. A streamer is unemployed with income.
But when asked by someone on the stream how much money he has,
$1.77. AKA it's none of your business.
Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
We are very busy here at CBC British Columbia, gearing up for our annual Food Bank Day tomorrow. Last year, we raised nearly $3 million for food banks across the province, thanks to you. Our Food Bank Day began in 1986, but the first food bank in our region dates back to about 1983. From our archives, we take you back in time to East Vancouver.
Every Wednesday since mid-December, the lineup at the Vancouver Food Bank on East 16th has been getting longer. Much longer. It started out with 100 bags of free groceries. This is the 5th weekly giveaway. People started showing up at 8 a.m. They waited 5 long, cold hours in the rain for the doors to open. Over 600 people today, many with their kids. Most of them have never had to do this before. They're on welfare, UIC, all unemployed, no jobs, nothing in sight, and now they can't even afford to put enough food on the table.
Was it hard for you to come down here and get into this lineup?
The first time it was. First time. I mean, who likes lining up for food? But you know, it's there, and you need, you know, the food you need. Put the food in your belly, so as you do things like this, and it's good. You know, times are tough, and the community's got to stick together. So.
It's humiliating to have to stand in a line like this, and many resent the cameras showing what it's like to be down and out.
I'm hungry, so that's why I'm here, and it's too bad it's raining because a lot of people are going to catch cold here. I'm lucky I had a nice Christmas present, I have a nice coat to wear, but a lot of people here don't have these things, you know, so I don't know. Like, people resent you not because you're probably from the TV, it's probably because you got a job and they don't, you know.
For every person in this line, the food bank organizers figure there are dozens of others either too embarrassed or unable to get themselves down here for a free bag of groceries.
Getting increasing numbers every week, and the type of people that are in the lineup are changing also. I think we're getting the middle class hungry in here now, and not only the cases on welfare.
The food bank is probably one of the most useful operations emerging from the recession. It's been so successful and it's growing so fast that the food bank hopes to open other depots around the city soon.
That was the CBC's Sue Stern reporting back in 1983. Now, what was meant to be a temporary relief has turned into an institution, with food banks popping up all over the Lower Mainland and other parts of BC. We'll have more on this after the break. New data shows the economy is shrinking as the GDP contracts. Why this isn't a recession yet? Stick around.
For weeks, Grace and Penny walked this street searching for a small kitten, missing after its mom was killed by a car. He believed the baby cat was living among rocks near a senior's home here in Wesleyville. Someone had already rescued 2 of its siblings, but no one was sure if this last kitten was still alive, especially as frost began to bite.
I knew deep in my heart that he was going to be here. And I didn't want to give up on him, even if he was gone. I didn't want to give up on him, even if he still had a chance of living.
Then, on one drizzly cold day of his search, he heard a meow.
He stared in my eyes, and then he hopped, and he jumped, and he went under that rock over there, and he crammed himself under. So we had to go call my dad and get him and my friend to come over to see if they can get the kitten out. I was down there and I went up to get cat food. I called my dad, he crammed under the rocks, and I called my dad. So then he came with a friend, and he couldn't get the kitten out because he was crammed and climbing under the rocks. So we got in our car and we went down and we got cat food back at my house. And then we came back up, and a lady from inside the home, she came out and she caught him for us and put him up by the door up by the home.
Grayson named the kitten Smit and brought it home.
He didn't know how to eat. He only knew how to drink from a syringe. So after that, and we let him hang out on my bed and with me, and he slept with me, and me and my mom had to take shifts going in the night to try to catch him from jumping off the bed. And so yeah, and then, well, we brought him to the SPCA the next day.
Grayson's mom wasn't sure the kitten would survive those weeks in the cold, but she's not surprised by her son's commitment to finding it.
Grayson's had a love for animals since he was small, and he's a pretty determined little boy.
They brought the kitten to the SPCA in Gander, along with a donation, and someone adopted it soon after.
While this was Grayson and Penny's first cat rescue, he's hoping it won't be his last. He says if any animal, big or small, crosses his path, he'll be sure to try to help out. Troy Turner, CBC News, Wesleyville.
As we mentioned, we're gearing up for our annual CBC Food Bank Day tomorrow, and we would love your support. Food banks were meant to be temporary when they first opened in BC, but now they're all over the lower mainland and other parts of the province. Don Armstrong has been a part of the Salvation Army Food Bank program in Chilliwack since 1985. He works as an emergency disaster services coordinator, and Don joins us now. Don, we appreciate your time. Referencing that story we showed from 1983, what is it like to see stories like that today?
It reminds me a lot of what happened back in those days there, where you see 600 people going through a food bank in one day. And out here, we were doing, in the Chilliwack area, maybe 10 people in one day. So it's like, when you see the video and you see kids coming through with mums and the low income people, that's still going on today. It's the same thing that's happening now that's happened 40 years ago.
Interestingly, we talked with someone yesterday, another person who runs the Mustard Seed Food Bank on the island, who said that one of the major differences they're seeing now is that double income earners are showing up. Are you noticing that as well?
We are seeing a lot of employed people coming through our food banks, low income. I mean, we figured out 1 in 6 people using the food banks are employed. And so there's 33% of children too. So it's like, it's not nice right now.
You've run the Chilliwack Food Bank for the last 38 years. Can you even imagine when you started this back in 1985 that this would still be going on?
You know, when I first took this job, I thought, is it worth a job that you might keep for 1 or 2 years? And it's like, now it's 40 years and I'm still doing it. So it's a great job. Love doing it because you get to help people and you get to see people that are hurting badly. And then when they leave, at least you get a smile on the face from them.
We know people will step up to help in December. Long term, though, how do you get by when things keep getting leaner for a lot of people?
We just rely on the communities. The communities in the province are just fantastic. When we're in dire need, we just have to let the people know, and the money comes in. People come up to help us out. I mean, realistically, we have about 40 volunteers every day here in Chilliwack, and we could not run a food bank without volunteers at the same time.
Don Armstrong, last question to you. Appreciate your time. Long-term solutions, what are you looking for?
Oh, wow. Government help. I don't see an end to it. That's the frustrating part. I wish I could just say, you know, 1 more year and then food banks would be happy. But with the interest rate and everything going up, we're just losing ground.
Don Armstrong with the Salvation Army Food Bank program in Chilliwack. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for your service.
Thank you very much.
More evidence today that Canada's economy is slowing down. That includes big job cuts from the big banks and the latest GDP report that has surprised economists. Senior business reporter Nisha Patel explains the developments.
Layoffs are back on Bay Street. After growing their workforces during the pandemic, all of Canada's big banks are shedding staff. TD says it's slashing about 3,000 jobs. CIBC says it has cut more than 2,000.
We've architected CIBC to deal with the economic environment that might come in 2024. If things go slow, we'll manage accordingly.
Over the past few months, Scotiabank, RBC, and Bank of Montreal announced plans to downsize too, trimming costs in an uncertain economy. The banks are also setting aside more money to cover bad loans, as many Canadians will have to renew mortgages at much higher rates in the new year.
It's more than a risk. It's more not about if, but when we're starting to see those financial distress filtering through the economy.
And that economy is weaker than expected, according to the latest GDP report.
A Canadian economy that's mostly stagnant at this point, not a lot of growth, not a lot of momentum.
GDP fell 0.3% in the third quarter. That means the economy is shrinking. Business investment slowed, exports sank. Consumer spending was flat.
The Q3 number would have been worse if not for government spending, and that's not really a recipe for sort of successful economic growth if the government is just kind of filling in the gap.
Still, Canada's job market is holding up surprisingly well, so economists aren't declaring a recession just yet.
There's a lot of sort of signs that it's softening, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to end up in a significant recession.
All of these factors part of the Bank of Canada's calculus as it does what it can to cool inflation.
We need this period of slower growth to relieve those price pressures, to restore price stability. And then when we get there, growth can pick back up, the economy can grow again.
For now, analysts say it all likely means the end of interest rate hikes. Most are expecting the Bank of Canada to hold rates steady next week. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Hamas has freed 8 more hostages held in Gaza as the truce with Israel was extended by yet another day. Israel freed 30 jailed Palestinians. In turn, the U.S. says it's working with Israel, Egypt, and Qatar to extend the ceasefire. But as Sasha Petrusik reports, violence continues in the region.
Early this morning, on the road into Jerusalem, 2 Palestinian brothers opened fire on a bus stop, killing 3 people before they were shot dead. The militant group Hamas claiming responsibility. It proves again that we must speak to Hamas only through the scope of a rifle, says Israel's far-right national security minister. But for the 7th day, Israel's rifles and its tanks were quiet, kept idle by a last-minute agreement to extend the truce by Hamas' offer to release 2 more female hostages. One of them, 21-year-old Mia Shlem, last seen more than a month ago in a Hamas video showing her recovering from a bullet to the shoulder. Her mother got news of the release by phone. Shlem arrived home hours later. She is the 99th Israeli hostage to be freed, with 6 let go later today, and about 134 still held. Negotiations to free them continue through U.S., Qatari, and Egyptian diplomacy.
We have been focused relentlessly on trying to secure the release of hostages from Gaza and from Hamas.
With uncertainty if those talks will extend the ceasefire beyond today, Gazans took advantage of precious hours to find whatever food they could, to scrounge through the rubble of their devastated homes, looking for anything that's left. The end of the calm feels like our execution, says Dalal Masood, fearing this day is the last. Indeed, Israel has made it clear that the moment this temporary truce is over, the guns will be back in its war against Hamas in densely populated Gaza. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada's health minister is promising to shut a loophole on flavored nicotine pouches. We'll tell you why right after this.
This morning, the hallways of the Saint Justine Hospital were ringing with music.
We love it. We love it. It's very, very nice to see the music. So, especially during this time of the year.
It was a pick-me-up for Nadia Tamaro.
It's beautiful. It's soft, and it brings peace in your heart.
Sitting by her son's hospital bed as he recovers from heart surgery.
A lot of people think about like kids and surgeries and this and intensive care, so it brings a lot of joy and it's good.
The visit to the Saint Justine is an annual tradition to bring holiday cheer and share the joy of music with patients and their families.
Music could just get you, if you're feeling a little bit with a little bit of anxiety, or you're feeling a little, the music could put you calm, and the idea is to bring a little bit of this kind of calming to the kids and also to the parents that they are going through all of this.
It was a feeling that was spread among staff too.
This morning was a little bit eclectic, and we were a little bit overwhelmed by all the cases. And when we heard the music, it felt instantly peaceful.
This year, the OSM had a record 16 musicians volunteer.
If you can't come to the music comes to you, you know? And obviously these kids, you know, they're in a hospital. It's like the worst place to be. And it's the littlest thing we can do.
This violinist says she gets emotional when she plays in front of children.
This kid we played for had this beautiful smile, and, you know, it went right to my heart.
The OSM hopes the music helps the children and staff find a little peace this holiday season.
Let's make the season kind with CBC's annual Food Bank Day coming up on December 1st. Kick off the holiday season and join us for a special day of programming, all in support of local food banks across BC. This year, for the first time ever, you can watch our live stream of the entire day on CBC Gem and at cbc.ca/foodbankday. We'll see you December 1st. In Victoria, climate activists are calling on the province to freeze its LNG and fracking expansion plans. They unveiled an ice sculpture outside the BC legislature earlier today. The group Climate Justice Victoria says it symbolizes the limited time there is to act as it melts away. And they say if all planned LNG projects become operational, they will create more than 3 times the allowable emissions in BC's climate plan. To Dubai now, where a major climate conference is underway. The COP28 president has urged countries to find common ground to achieve goals.
We know, as you know, the gravity of this moment. We feel, as you feel, the urgency of this work.
Delegates approved a new climate damage fund to help developing countries cope with extreme weather events. Those nations have long sought to address inadequate funding for climate-driven catastrophes like flooding, extreme heat, and drought. A recent UN report says up to $380 billion will be needed every year to help. Darius Madavi joins us now with a forecast. Big conference every time, isn't it?
It is, yes. And also, it'll be interesting to see exactly what they do talk about, who is there. I know it'll be a big one. It's an important year for it.
Absolutely.
Considering all the heat records we've seen broken.
Indeed.
And all the impacts we've seen. But I don't have much to talk about on the climate front today. Not much big news there. But I do want to talk about the series of systems we have rolling through. Quite a shift from where we were this time last week when we had nothing but sun and a bit of cloud in the forecast, because now we have a series of systems rolling through. Next one should come through later tomorrow night, and then we continue to see them come through. Probably, it seems right now, the strongest on Sunday, bringing the strongest winds and the heaviest rains to the south coast. But the north and central coast will see some very consistent rainfall. We will get a few breaks during the day as we get into the next few days, but expect a few showers tomorrow across most of the south coast. bit of a break day Saturday, and then we see Sunday come in full force. So there you can see a really big wave of precipitation come, and that's going to continue, it looks like, into early next week. Doesn't look like we get much of a break because this is just going to, with that ridge of high pressure gone and deflecting all that precipitation up north, it's all being able to just move right through the province. So this is looking like a more standard fall forecast, you might say. Plenty of snow for parts of the interior, even at lower elevations, because again, we have this chill in the air still lingering from that ridge of high pressure, even though it's moved out now. But expect we could see some high winds. I saw winds forecasted up to 80 kilometers per hour, gusts at least, for Tofino later this weekend. So I'm not sure we will see a wind warning or a rainfall warning, but it could be some strong winds and heavy rains that we do see at times this weekend. Now, in terms of temperature, I mentioned we are a little bit chilly still in the for the south coast. That will continue for at least another day or two before temperatures do start to come up. So there we go, Saturday, they do start to come up. Interior likely to follow on Sunday, but it looks like the models have shifted a bit. It might be a little bit longer before we see that impact because, again, that ridge stuck around a bit longer than we were expecting. But if we take a look at our conditions tomorrow, pretty much what we've talked about, a few flurries likely to break into parts of the interior, but most of the precipitation coming along the north and central coast and continuing at times here on the south coast, mostly tomorrow morning and then late in the evening. If we take a look at our, here we go, there we go, zooming into Vancouver and then looking once again at our accumulation across the local mountains. I just wanted to show this again to mention that the snow probably won't come down this far. That's just because of the resolution of the model, but some considerable snowfall accumulation coming for the local mountains. And then for Vancouver, again, consistent forecast, lots of showers on the way.
Okay, thanks very much, Darius.
Thanks, Dan.
Canada's health minister is promising to restrict the availability of nicotine pouches. They're products that deliver nicotine to the body to make it easier to quit smoking. But as Marina von Stackelberg tells us, national health groups complained about the pouches being sold to kids.
What do you think it looks like?
Gum. Looks like gum.
Spencer Hudson says flavored nicotine pouches are already showing up around school.
People are just saying that they just give you a really good head rush.
The pouches contain nicotine that's released when placed in the mouth. Health Canada approved them as a tool to help quit smoking, but they don't fall under tobacco or vape laws. So there are no restrictions on how they're advertised or sold.
We're looking at what actions we can take and to take those actions quickly. We want to shut down this loophole.
The health minister's promise now comes after national health groups sounded the alarm earlier this month about Zonic. With colorful packaging, fruity flavors, and youthful ads, they say target kids.
The way that this was presented is that it was for the purposes of cessation. In their marketing and their approach, it exists in a completely different way. We were duped.
But it shouldn't be happening.
But the Canadian Cancer Society says the federal government should have known better.
This product should never have been approved to be sold on the market by Imperial Tobacco, given the way it's being marketed in the United States, in Europe.
Health Canada says controlling where and how nicotine pouches are sold is up to the provinces, but some say more warning was needed.
The provinces were given no advance notice that this was going to be legalized. But for cannabis, provinces had 3 years to get ready to prepare provincial legislation and regulations.
We've raised it with the federal government, and we would like and would expect them to take action. If they don't, we'll consider all our options.
Imperial Tobacco says it followed the proper approval process. It says Zonic is not intended for anyone under the age of 18. You can find that information on the package if you peel back 3 labels. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
It might not be what you think of as a holiday classic. Why the Cinematheque is banking on an esoteric and beloved Soviet film director this season. Stick around. So be it caroling or hanging up lights or baking, there are plenty of ways for you and others to get out into your cities and spread some holiday cheer.
But Dan, what if that's not really your thing?
Good question.
Well, Lisa Christensen went to check out what's been called Sad Man Cinema at the Cinematheque.
It's finally Christmas. Jingle bells and warm cider, presents and candy canes, Christmas trees and long walks in the snow, warming up your feet by the fire, carols and holiday movies where families get together for parties and big dinners. Or you could spend December at Vancouver Cinematheque.
So we're an art cinema. We've been around for 50 years, so we're not a multiplex. We're not where you go to see a Marvel movie. We're where you go to see like a new Godard film. Well, an old Godard film.
Yeah, he's not putting out any new stuff, is he?
No, but there might be new restorations of old stuff.
Right. And we're here to talk about a film series coming up on Tarkovsky. And what is really fun about this, I guess, for some people, is this is in December.
Yes, so December is a strange time maybe to show Tarkovsky films, and I like that you said the word fun, because maybe Tarkovsky is one of the least fun filmmakers of all time. So playing it in December when everything's like a hustle and a bustle and everybody's getting really into the spirit of the season, it seems kind of funny to pair that time of year with really slow, contemplative, metaphysical cinema, but we're really leaning into it, and I think that it'll really draw a crowd. He's one of our staple directors. We get tons of requests all year. Everybody's like, when are you gonna play Tarkovsky again? When are you gonna play Tarkovsky again? We last did it in 2012, a whole retrospective, but as new restorations come out, we always release them here, and they always draw a huge crowd. People love Tarkovsky.
Let's talk about who he is.
Yes, so Tarkovsky, he's a Soviet filmmaker. He made films between the 60s and the 80s. All of his films are really, really beautiful. They're really slow and contemplative, but every single frame is just absolutely stunning. You can get swallowed up in them. He was really interested in metaphysical and spiritual themes. He was a huge admirer of the big European and Japanese art cinema directors of the mid-century, so he has a lot in common with somebody like Ingmar Bergman or Kurosawa Akira, but he's really his own thing. Like, you watch a Tarkovsky film and it's like no other film you've seen before.
And how many films did he make?
Oh gosh, I could like list them. I forgot to count them. Something like 7 features. So he made them, he only had about a 20-year career, and he made a film every few years, and every one of them is like, each shot you can tell took so long. Like, every moment in his films is unbelievably composed and rigorous.
And what is it about the films that people keep coming back to? I mean, like, he died in 1986, and, you know, only a few films. So what is it that is the attractor?
Yeah, we were talking about this in the office because one of my coworkers was like, ugh, why are we doing Tarkovsky in December? Like, that's sad man cinema. And it really, yeah, it really is sad man cinema. Like, a lot of men just staring at a landscape, contemplating like the utter meaninglessness of life, and that maybe we've been abandoned by God. And I don't know why people are often in that mood, but they really are. Like, he is the most enthusiastically received of all art cinema directors. Other directors love him, and I honestly think it's because he takes art really seriously. He has zero humility about his work. He has zero sense of humor about his work, and I think that when we're feeling our most existential, that's really appealing, especially when you can match that with unbelievably beautiful cinematography. It's just a real commitment to a theme and a mood that really comes across. Like, watching a Tarkovsky film, you finish it and you just feel really, really smart and also really profound.
So it's interesting, in December, you can, you know, watch Elf.
Santa's coming to town!
Santa! Oh my God!
I know him! I know him!
On one side, or It's a Wonderful Life.
Please! I want to live again! I want to live again.
With Jimmy Stewart, and that is a really dark movie. So we do explore, there is a lot of feelings throughout December.
Yes, I think that's a really interesting comparison because It's a Wonderful Life, I think, is the most existential Christmas movie ever. So if you are in that mood at Christmas, I feel like Tarkovsky might be for you. Like if you really feel sad but also want some redemption, like that really is the mood of Tarkovsky. That's a strange comparison, but I think it really does fit.
And you are giving a talk at the Cinematheque. I think it's on the 8th, is that
the
right?
9th, the
sorry,
Saturday,
yeah.
yes. So at 12:30, we're gonna have a whole afternoon of Tarkovsky. So if you're curious about what this director's about, why we like him, I'm gonna give about an hour-long interactive lecture. We're gonna watch lots of clips, we're gonna go through the history, we're gonna compare him to other directors, and then everybody's gonna grab some popcorn and we're all gonna watch nostalgia together and like apply our newfound Tarkovsky analysis skills.
So if you are concerned about having to hit the cocktail circuit around Christmas and not have much to talk about,
yes, Tarkovsky is a good thing to watch to impress your friends. Even if you really hate Tarkovsky, some people just find him like too ponderous, but it's a fun opinion to have for a cinephile to be like, you know, I just don't understand what the big deal is about Tarkovsky. I love him or hate him. So that's a good thing to chat about over the holidays with your hardy cinephile friends.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No sense of humor about his work. Bleak winter scenes, long zoom-in shots. Wow, glad he's not Precious. You gonna go?
No, I'm gonna watch Elf.
I'm gonna watch Die Hard, which for the record, very existential, and a Christmas movie. I will not be taking questions.
Controversial.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Jam, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/bc.
We will have your next local news at 11 o'clock right after the National. See you then.